In the heart of God lies the golden crown of God. The golden crown of God carries the love of God. And God showed everyone that the love of God originates from the heart of God. And wherever man carries the heart of God within his own heart, he finds the way to love in God. Everywhere that man went in this world, he did not find the way to the heart of God. For man walked in a world that was always corrupted with the sins of men. And everywhere that man went in a corrupt world, he found everything that also corrupted man. So man was never able to find the way to love, for he did not find the way to his own spirit. And because the spirit is God in man, it also carries the heart of God. In teaching the things that we give you to teach, we give you always to edify the children in the true knowledge of the things that they did not know, they could not have known. For the world in which they live is a world that is corrupted in the evil of men. Every way man came into this world, he followed the ways of the flesh. For he did not know that all seen things that are manifested before man constitutes the way God called it the flesh. And he did not find the way to the Spirit because he did not wait for God to teach man how to know the way in which the Spirit exists in the flesh of all things. There has always been the ignorance of man arising out of the wayward ways in which man went. And when man did not know that in breaking the laws that are sacred and divine unto his creator gods, he would also break the wholeness of everything that was given into the world. And God showed man why he lives in the fragmented world, because God showed everyone that he had all his many false gods, his false saviors, and everything that he decided to do on earth, there was always working in the fragments that he found. And God told man there's only one God. God told man there's only one power that is all powerful in the world. God told man that wherever he would look in the world, he would see the way in which God is great. And man still did not understand that in every way that he found not the wholeness of God within himself. He never found a way that the world was whole in God. And there are several things that God did not share with the children of God, because the children walked in complete disobedience to the things that God had given to them. And God was angry with the children of God, and God cursed everything that man did that was an abomination in the sight of your father and mother God. Every accursed thing in the world is what brought all suffering and pain and death to man. For man did not know your God. For man did not know that in all the ways he sees the way in which God exists in many multidimensional ways, that God was never a one-dimensional God, as so many have come to believe. And despite God telling them, you have eyes, but you still do not see, they still did not understand what your God told them. When God is the all that is the all, everything that exists, manifests, and is made known to you constitutes the way in which God wants you to know that there are many, 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 many dimensional ways to God. And because man had no knowledge of himself, he had no knowledge of the way God exists in all the ways that God showed man why God is the all in all. The children of your God knew these things. And when they broke their sacred covenant with your father and mother God, we took the most sacred and divine away from them. And from that time onwards, the children were no longer able to find the way to the truth. This whole world has gone the perishing way. And everyone that came and left and came and left and came and left demonstrated what God told them. Without God, you are nothing. Without God, everything is nothing. And except man came to understand the way in which God speaks and what God means by what God says, he will always be in darkness. He will never be able to find the truth. For the truth can never lie in darkness. The truth can never dwell in darkness. And so man was always wandering in this world, never ever knowing that except he find the way to his own inner God, he will never find the way to the heart of God. God showed many of the children of God that in all the ways that God giveth suffering to them, that God wanted them to recognize that when God is the giver of all things, there is nothing else that can give anything to you. In all the times man came and left and came and left, God said, "You son," they did the same thing all over again. These are our gods. These are our angels. These are the demons. This is the way Satan is. This is the way the devil is. God said to them, do you not know what I said to you? God is all that there is. There is nothing else. God is everything that exists in whatever form or way it exists. It is God existing in that dimension. So you must tell them, where did all these demons and angels and gods, where did they ever come from? Who created them? How did they come into being? And God says to you, you know, son, except man has the divinity of your father and mother within him, he cannot know the truth. For he finds himself in a world shrouded in darkness, and everything that came to him, in every way that it deceived him, it led him always never to find the way to the truth. There is nothing else but God. I am the devil. I am Satan. I am the angels. I am the demons. I am all that there is. For everything that exists in me as God. Then you must tell them, where did you find anger from? Where did you find a way to be brutal from? Where did you find a way to be gentle, to be kind, to be loving? Is it not the way that God says to you, you are in the likeness of God? However way you are, God is, because God is that way in you. You cannot manifest anything from yourself except that which is God within you manifests through you. And every man walk this world always believing that he understood the way the world is, he understood God, and he understood the way God works, when in fact he knows nothing. He knows nothing. Every way God accursed everything and threw it onto them. God turned away from man. God said, you know, when you turn away from somebody, it's because you don't want anything to do with them again. And man does these things. And he still does not understand how the ways of God are manifested from him to inform him that this is the way God is in that dimension of God in you. And so this whole world was lost in the knowledge of God. Sending you to teach and to preach, we give you to edify the children of God. Why God told them darkness fell upon them, and God told them turn away from all these ways you're going. It can never lead you to find the way to your spirit, because everywhere you came into this world, you chased after everything that you see in the world. I want this, I want that, I want to be rich, I want to be powerful, I want to have all these things around me. To what end? To what end? To what end? Because God told you, what would it profit you if you take all this wealth and riches and power that you presume you can have in this world and you become nothing in the end? To what end are you taking these things? To what end? God knows that man will wake up, a rude awakening, a swift awakening, a tragic awakening, because God shows man that in every way God is the all in all. God takes back the all from everyone. God takes back the all from everyone. It doesn't matter who you think you are. It doesn't matter how powerful you think you are, how rich and noble you are. God takes back everything from everyone and shows man why in all the ways he walked in the ignorance of what he has, he walked never in the knowledge of God. I am that I am that I am. So did God say to man. I am all that I can be in you, in everything that exists, because that is the way the I am is. And there never is, there never was, there never will ever be anything other than God or greater than God, because God represents the supremacy of all things that exist in the seen and the unseen way. And because man did not take time to learn how the things exist in the unseen and why they are greater than the seen things, he spent his entire life pursuing things that would mean nothing to him in the end. God said, look, a simple thing. God said to them, husband and wife. Simple thing. Every man didn't understand what God means. And so many went saying, our God told us that we can have so many wives. And it is written in the Bible that you can have, this one had so many wives, Krishna had so many wives, Solomon had so many wives and concubines, Noah had so many. I said, look, son, look. We said to them, unless you wait for God to teach you what God means by what God says, you would never understand what it is you were given to know. The husband and the wife were the terms that God showed the children, that whenever that which is of the father and that which is of the mother enjoin in the act of procreation, they become one as husband and wife. And whatever they produce from themselves, they are given to take equal responsibility for. So you see, the dividing of the child was never understood in the approach to Solomon as ownership of the child. Because man did not understand the way God reasons. And when you don't know the way God reasons, you cannot assume that you know what God means by what God says. Anyone that you go with and joining with in the act of procreation makes you husband and wife. And that is why each have equal responsibility, because each work in the equal ways of the father and the mother coming together. That is why you produce that which is of yourself, because you are enjoined as one. And whatever you bring forth becomes one. So this whole world went in the wayward way, in everything. God didn't give anybody to say to anybody, you are my property, you belong to me. God didn't give anybody, because you don't belong to anybody else other than God. Who brought you into this world? Who gave you life? Who gives you sustenance? Who shows you the way of all things? Nobody does that. God does it. And it matters not who God appoints to enable you to do what you do. It is from God, always from God. God said, son, when God said to mankind, everything that it did, you went the wrong way. And everything that came forth from what you did is an abomination to God, for you did not follow the sacred and divine principles of God in the creation of everything. God said, God said, look, tell them, show me any of the beasts of the fields that said this one is their wife and that one is their husband. Show me any of the fowls of the air that can say to you, this is my husband, this is my wife. Show me any creature in the deep that says, this is my husband, this is my wife. Show me anything in this world that tells you that this one is the husband and that one is the wife. Still, God said, see, you pride yourself in your vainglorious ways of believing that God gave intelligence only to you, and don't realize that everything else has sacred intelligence. The difference between man and everything else, that everything else follows what it is given in the sacred intelligence of God to it. Wake them up. Wake them up. You went the way of the flesh, and the way of the flesh was the wrong way. It is the lesser way, it's the lower way. You start believing in ownership and possession of others, which was never yours to have. And you did it with everything else that you see. This is mine, that is mine, this belongs to me. Who does it belong to? God asks you, if it belongs to you, what belongs to God? Everywhere you tell them it's an awakening, they will awake. They must awake. They will be awake. God tells them, when God says to you, turn away from all these ways, God knows exactly what God is telling you. Everything that you see and you know and believe you know are all the things that God told you, led you the way of error. It is the wrong way. And that is why the world continually becomes a divided place. Man is divided against himself. His world has become a decaying world because he did not adhere to the sacred and divine principles that are of life. And the children of God never found the way back to being God's because they never found the way to the Spirit that is God in them. Teach and preach, continue to teach and preach. For every way that we will send you to work in the great and mighty ways of your Father and Mother God, so will you show everybody how the children walked here as gods, being great and mighty in all the ways that the divinity of the Mother and the Father God was within them. And they must see what it is that they had lost, that your God has promised to return to them. You will show them why it is that we send you to be the way, the truth, and the light unto them, that they may rediscover the way that they were gods, walking in the way of man in the flesh. You will teach them that which we did not share with them because they had lost the divinity of both your Father and Mother God. You will show them the way that God's light exists within them. And you must tell them, let go of all these things that you learned that God told you would deceive you into falsehoods. For they have never, ever been able to show you the way to the truth. And you cannot find the truth while you continue to hold on to deceit and falsehood. You have to let go. You have to let go. You have to be born again in the way in which God gives you to recognize how to receive the divine of God within you. That in receiving God's divine, you will find the way to the God within you, that you may discover the heart of God within you. And when you have found it this way, then and only then will you return to being God's in the way of man. Silala ulimi ishipike tusaya wawa. Inononi nikiti otolobadendi isakaratun. I say, in every way that man depends on water, water will forsake man. In every way that this whole world is surrounded by water, water will forsake man. Tell them these things, and you will explain to them what it is God said in the statement God made. Water will forsake man.